I am Mark Christian, your host with Digging for End Time Truths, and I am here again with the morning Breadcast. It's good to have you back today, and we are covering this week lessons, last day's lessons. Yesterday we covered devices. Today we're probably going to talk about weapons, but I wanted to remind you that last week's series that we did, we talked about the seen and the unseen world, and it's obvious that there are unseen spirits, beings that are basically trying to bring our demise, trying to get us off track with God, trying to get us to not serve the living God or to live lives that are not a good witness for others, right? So yesterday we covered devices because it's important that we are not ignorant of the devil's devices, obviously. Today I want to talk about weapons, and we're going to start in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and read verse 4 and verse 5, where it says, "The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for the pulling down of strongholds." So that talks about the weapons of our warfare. It's not flesh and blood. There's no way to battle these spirit beings with guns and swords and knives and other type earthly tactics, right? The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. In other words, strongholds. So what are they? Verse 5 says this: casting down the strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So these the strongholds that he's talking about that our weapons will tear down are what? They're arguments, that they're things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. But how do we do it? We bring every thought captive and we make it obedient to Christ, right? So how do we? Obviously, you can take the thought captive and make obedient, but make it obedient to what, right? Let's go to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 17. And it says, where it talks about this armor that we have, the weapons that we have are within this spiritual armor that we carry. And it says, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, right? So if you don't know the word, how are you going to know what's a good or a bad thought? It has to be ingrained in you. When something comes across your mind, you have to know that it's something that you need to cast down, right? That it's an argument that you need to cast down, or it's some kind of knowledge that is against the word of God, right? But you have to know the word of God for that, right? So I'm going to leave you with this one, and this is out of Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, where it talks about the word of God. It says, "For the word of God is living and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart." Okay, so what does the word do? The word, it's can divide even between feelings and like the soul and the spirit. Your soul obviously is your mind, your will, and your emotions, and it can discern between those things. The word of God is powerful. It's living and it's active in your life if you allow it to be. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Get in your word and know how to take every thought captive so that you can walk in the perfect will of God. I'm going to leave you with that today, and we will see you again next time on the Morning Breadcast.